All right, welcome to today's episode of Winning Mentality, and my name's Daniel Cutright. Super pumped about today's episode. We have Mr. Mike Marsella on the line with us. Mike, how you doing?
Oh, doing well. How are you?
Doing great, man. So Mike and I have had the pleasure of knowing each other from when I was actually a GA at UVA, and Mike was running track and cross country there. And to give you guys that don't know a little bit of Mike's background, very successful running career. He'll talk a little about that, some All-Americans to his name, some stats in the professional ranks as a track athlete, and we'll probably get into that a little bit here as well. But Mike, maybe just to start us off, tell us, how did you get into running? How did this all start for you?
Yeah, no, I've been running since I was a little kid, and essentially, well, funny story. I actually, when I was, about eighth grade or so, I was actually playing football, and I was always fast and stuff. But I ended up having scoliosis, which was basically my spine bent about 55 degrees, and for a while, the doctors just thought it was, genetic, because that's how most of the time your spine bends. But I actually had a tumor about the size of an egg, been sitting on there for the past couple of years. And one day I was just walking to the bus one morning to catch a first day of like high school, basically, and I just felt paralyzed completely. So I ended up actually getting into running, because when fortunately, when I got the ability to walk again, it just opened up my eyes so much different than I could have ever imagined. And one thing led to the next. I just kind of kept pushing, really just valuing the freedom of being able to feel my legs, and honestly just kind of seeing where that could take me. And yeah, I've just been running since I was a little kid. And when I had the opportunity, when it was taken away from me, it made me realize how much I just missed the sport of running. So
Wow. So clearly that was probably a perspective shift for you, because a lot of people, when you talk to them about running, they think it's the worst thing ever. They think it's a punishment, but you were in a position where you couldn't walk. And so would you say that played into your love for the sport, because it was just a different perspective?
yeah, honestly, I even go to the length of, I actually was fortunate enough to fall paralyzed, to be honest, because for the tumor on my spine for a couple of years, incredible amounts of pain. I was taking 1,800 milligrams of ibuprofen, every day, just because the doctors didn't really necessarily believe me that there was, some pain happening. So they put me in a couple back braces that I had to wear throughout the course of the day and at night. And it was really just like an effect of the tumor was pushing this way and the back brace was pushing the other way. And I was kind of just, wretched around, and, my spine ended up curling me over like 55 degrees while the brace was pushing back the other way. So honestly, the day I felt paralyzed, I remember, sitting in the wheelchair, just thinking when they finally came back to me and said, "There's a tumor on your spine." I was like, thank God, thank God, because I'm not crazy, because for the past couple of years, I was, starting to get a little confused of like, why am I feeling so much pain when the doctors say there should be none? So I remember just feeling blessed to be paralyzed. And, when I did get the feeling to walk again, I was so grateful. And, to then to go on and run, just kind of feeding off of that, just kind of really grew such an appreciation for something.
That's an incredible perspective. When you were going through this, was there ever a point where the thought crossed your mind, like, I'm not going to come out of this? Like, am I going to be living like this forever?
Honestly, I couldn't think that far in the future at that time. I
Mm.
remember thinking, like, I couldn't imagine doing this forever, like, because I was so present in each moment. Because the pain, I feel like pain does that to you, which is kind of interesting. Pain like puts you very much in the moment, and it just kind of, you just feel almost overcome by it sometimes, and I can feel a bit trapping. And sometimes it's nice to get out of that moment, and like sometimes other people can help you do that. But yeah, you're so in it, and it doesn't feel like it'll ever end, because you can't possibly think of it. You can't imagine it ever ending. Like, I remember laying in bed many nights thinking, like, I just am dreaming of the day, if it would ever come. I couldn't even possibly think of that it would, where there would be no pain. And like, when it finally did come, it felt surreal, because I hoped it would happen, but I never actually expected it would happen. I just kind of like endured for so long
Mm.
that I was just, when it finally did, it was just like breeze just washing over me. Like, I can't even really describe the feeling. but it was just relief. And I was in that moment purely as well. Just like, it didn't matter what happened. If I ever walked again, just the feeling of sitting in the wheelchair and just being like, wow, at this moment in time, like there is nothing better in life. And that's the feeling that I've tried to, find throughout my entire life, really.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. So you're coming out of this, you're pain free, and then you start progressing to where you're walking, and then you start picking up running and start getting more into that sport, and started to have some real success. Talk about maybe your high school running and that progression.
Yeah, well, I've always been competitive. I think that's been one of the. I mean, honestly, to my family, sometimes they're negative. I was usually pretty, like if I lost in a board game or something, like it was the end of the world. But yeah, that just kind of fueled me, and like every step along the way. And once I started walking again and started running, it was almost like, well, what else can I do? And it just kind of kept building and building. And next thing yeah, I won a state championship for Rhode Island, then I won a New England championship, and then we won the national championship for the 4 mile, and it was a pretty incredible experience. And I remember even the first time I broke 4:10 in the mile in high school, and the Duke coach came up to me, and that was the first time I ever thought, wow, I could do this in college. And I, just that moment of like, wow, I'm actually pretty good at this. And I feel like I've just lived in the present moment, that I never really had too much time to think ahead in the future. And as it just kind of happened, it was, it just felt like a breath of fresh air every time. And, but yeah, I think throughout the entire process, it was really just me being very present in how I can improve such minimal margins at a time. And to end up, getting a scholarship to run in college at the University of Virginia, it was surreal, honestly.
Yeah. And so why'd you pick Virginia? Did you have multiple offers coming out of high school?
Yeah, I had multiple offers. Mostly I really liked the mid-Atlantic area. I mean, just being from Rhode Island, I kind of wanted to get out of the cold. I was like and Rhode Island's such a small state. For most of the people that like I knew in Rhode Island who said they got out of Rhode Island, the world just seems so much bigger, because I feel like Rhode Island, we're cramped in there. Like even a 15-minute drive feels like you got to go halfway across the state, which feels like an eternity. So I was excited to get out of Rhode Island. And Coach Watson, he was, he was great throughout the process of recruiting. He actually recruited me to UNC, and when he made the move over to Virginia, I really liked him as a coach, and it just seemed like a good fit. They had a great mid-distance program with Robbie and all those guys. So
that's awesome. And so you came to Virginia. You ended up having some success, but before you really had a ton of that success, you had some more challenges that you had to work through, and your career is kind of one of, seems like, peaks and valleys. So talk about getting to Virginia.
It never ends.
And that's great mindset for people to know too. Maybe we can talk more about that, but talk about your time, getting to Virginia. What was that experience like, maybe getting there, and then what happened once you were there, as far as maybe some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to pick up on kind of where I left off, I was, on top of the world. To think that I got a scholarship, I'm so now. And actually, it was January of my freshman year of college, and I think I was probably about 2 weeks out from racing for the first time. And yeah, just out of nowhere, basically, I didn't even get to see it, kind of like a bullet going through you. Just a car ran a red light while I was riding a moped scooter. And yeah, I woke up 2 weeks later. And the crazy thing about it that, was really the difficult mental side of it for so long was it felt almost as if 1 second went by, it could have been, it was 2 weeks, but it could have been, 6 lifetimes, whoever I know. But like, it just was like, boom. And I don't even really remember getting hit. It was almost just like a blur before that. And yeah, next thing you know, I just remember waking up. And yeah, the big theme that I kind of, the thing that I think got me most of all was the idea of identity. And I felt like I was switching this idea of identity so many times, where I was a runner, and then I was not, and then I was a runner again, and then I suddenly just was not again. And when I remember sitting there, when I woke up, one of the first memories I had, and I remember thinking, like, not only where am I, of course, but like, who am I? And like, at the time, I wasn't thinking as deeply about it as I probably am now. But like now, I look back and I go, really, at that time in my life, who was I? I was no one, like I was being asked to send home, and it felt like my whole life had been taken away from me. And like I think um, coming out of that, because I think that, I mean, this is, I think, a little bit down the line where I had that kind of thought of, just the mental aspect of it. But I remember in that moment when they told me I was alive, I I heard a voice inside my head, and it was my thought, really, and it really told me that, like, Mike, you're okay, you can keep going. And when I was nothing, right, when I was actually nothing, like, it said I was okay. And I think, whatever that was, whatever, whoever you can find yourself at the bottom of any hole, and like, it doesn't matter how successful you are or how low you may be in any moment of whatever adversity you face, when you're on the bottom, if you can find the voice inside your head that says you're going to be okay, because in this moment you're good. And like that, I think got me through so much. And it's really a peaks and valleys, and not only just running, but in my life, I'm only 25 years old and I'm still experiencing peaks and valleys. There's always a road to be traveled. And but I think back to that a lot and just think, you know no matter if it could possibly get worse, I know that there'll be a voice to tell me that it will be okay.
That's awesome. So many people go through different challenges of different sizes, and I don't think anybody's one to say that one challenge is maybe bigger than another. But you've faced some pretty big ones, and clearly, it sounds like that's shaped your perspective on just life moving forward. When you get into tougher situations, would you say that that played into your racing career or even other just ambitions that you've had as you've moved out of
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. I mean, I think you can find that voice in everyday struggles. Honestly, it's when you're running, honestly, more than anything, you face that, even that voice that's saying, like, we need to stop, like we need to like step off the track, we need to slow down, we need to rest. And it's discerning that voice from the voice inside of you that has been dreaming for so long. And I think that's the difficulty, because we see that voice as like, I want to step off, I want to give up, I want to call it quits, as our voice. But that's the voice of our body, that's the voice of survival. That's just the voice of like, I'm gonna die, so like, let's do the right thing so we don't die. But then you have the other voice inside of you that's dreamed of something for so long and has goals and has visions. And if you can interact with those two voices, which sounds kind of bizarre, but when you reach that point in a race where the pain starts crawling up your stomach, and you get the headache, and your breathing gets hard, and you feel your body, and your mind starts to go, I want to give up. You can find beneath that is another voice. There's another voice that says, no, 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 we can do this. And when you tap into that, it's almost like a brick wall has been in front of you this entire time, but you can pierce through it easily. And it's almost like the pain goes away. It's a mental barrier. It's really a bodily barrier, but mentally you can break through it. And yeah, I mean, that's the voice you confront all the time. I'm confronting it, daily almost. It's just like, sometimes you just don't feel like waking up at 7 o'clock. It's as easy as that. If it's like, you can do it, get up, come on now. And
Yeah.
it's the voice. So
Through these different challenges that you've had, have you had people that have been supportive through this process, and what impact did that make?
yeah, no, I think the support that I've had throughout it was probably the most crucial part of my success. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, um, finding the voice is important, but you need other people to almost just be there to tell you that the voice you're hearing inside your head is the right one, and the other people hear it as well. Like my family, obviously, my parents. I'm fortunate and blessed more than anything that they were by my side every step along the way. They, basically when when I got hit. They, took all time off work, drove down, made sure they stayed by my bedside. The coaching staff at Virginia, they just recruited me. They could have been like good riddance. It doesn't seem like he's going to be much of a help to our team anymore, but they stood behind me. Coach Watson, Coach Fetzer, they visited me. The guys on the team, I was a new guy at the end of the day. I hadn't proved myself in any way, but I think just I think they saw through that and didn't see, like, they saw me as a human being, and that more than anything was like, one of our teammates, one of our brothers is down. Like, let's go pick him up. And I think that, it doesn't matter how fast you run. It doesn't matter, who you are. You're still a human being. And I think seeing that in them, and like they saw it as well. And I think that really just puts a lot of things into perspective and really lets you know who's going to be there for you, and like, it's a really valuable trait, and it allows me to be empathetic towards other people. I think that's what I've noticed more than anything, is that connection can save so many people's lives, and you don't even realize that just visiting someone at the hospital for 30 minutes. I don't know the fourth years or the fifth years that well, but the fact that they came in and see little first-year-old me sitting on the bed, it just like, it sparked me a little bit. I was like, this guy cares about me. Why does he care? But like, he cares about me. And that was an incredible feeling. So, whoever, if you're watching this and you have the opportunity to, just say hi to someone who needs it, I think that can go a long way.
So good, especially in a time like we're in right now, even just checking in on people that you haven't talked to in a long time, it more to that person than we might realize. Some of those guys that were on the team when you were there at Virginia, do you still have relationships with those guys today?
Yeah. I mean, I was on the team for 6 years. I mean, I had my fair share of injuries, and I mean, those are the guys that I always shoot them text messages, see what's going on. Like, we stay in touch. But it's one of those things, like some of the guys I haven't talked to in 3-4 years, but when I do talk to them, like, it's just a random occasion, it's almost like we never left, we never missed a beat. And I think that's cool. I think that's cooler more than anything, is that, we just connected on like such a deeper baseline level, that like, no matter what, no matter how we've changed in appearance or how we changed in, lifestyles, personalities, whatever, like, you connect on like a deeper level. And it's just like, oh yeah, I remember being there with you, like the pain, like the grind. Yeah, we can always relate back to that. And it just puts us right back there. And, I'm assuming when we're 50, 60, 70 years old, no matter how our lives have kind of roller coastered in effect, we'll still be like, yeah, man, I can still put myself right there with you. And, I'll never lose that. And I think that's an awesome feeling.
I think a lot of athletes can relate to that. My dad actually ran at JMU, and he said the same thing. He's in his 60s now, but they caught up with some guys that were on the team there, and he hadn't seen them in years, and it was like they never missed a beat. So I think you'll always have that for sure.
Absolutely.
So take us in now, Mike, to some of the success you had at UVA. What was the experience there like from a racing perspective? Some of the opportunities that you had, and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, at UVA, it was fun. It was the ACC, it was just high-level competition wherever you went. And that was just, had the pressure, the expectations, like just the guys around you. You're just racing the best guys in the country, best guys in the world. And I think that just brings the best out of you. And, yeah, I mean, looking back, it's kind of crazy to think. But, when I was first hit by the car, I was on the bottom again. I honestly was pretty horrible at running just suddenly again. But yeah, just the expectation. And, I've felt that my entire life, just like, it doesn't have to be now, which, fortunately that the coaching staff let that happen, but it will come if you just keep your head to the grindstone and keep believing. And, and I had the guys on the team that were like, every step along the way, it was just like, if I can catch up to him, right, he's the guy, he's the man. He's winning the ACC titles, and I had that on my team. Just guys that I could just key off of, and, grow alongside. And I know when I got beat in a race or something like that, it was, well, I'm getting beat to the guy who's like, 6th in the NCAA. It's one of those things where it's like, that's just a marker. Like, holy crap, well, that's what it takes to get to the next level. So I think, it's just every step moving along. You know, I was able to break 4 minutes in the mile, but then, you know, just the way my whole life had gone at that point, I was like, I need to make an NCAA championship, because, you know, breaking 4 minutes a mile has changed. Certainly, it's still a huge milestone, but, you know, I was always expecting the next thing. You know, and that's just the unfortunate thing of running too, is that I, you know, just ran into running related injuries along the way. I, you know, had a stress fracture, you know, I had mono come up, just stupid stuff, but just intercepting, you know, the goals. But it's just like all those things, you know, I ended up taking a 6th year because I had, you know, 2 stress fractures in my femur, and I thought that was going to be the end of my career. And I was like, oh, you know, it's too bad that I had an end on an injury, but it would have made sense at the end of the day since it started on injury. But when I was given the 6th year, I was like, I think I got to, you know, just give it one more shot, you know. And my goal was to make an NCAA final, or just make the NCAAs, honestly. And I was not in that great of shape, I'll be honest. Like, I was kind of just fighting along, and because I just, you know, just the consistency in training wasn't there. But, you know, I just kind of kept grinding. Watson at the beginning of the year was like, you're making it to NCAAs. And I was like, all right, well, how are we going to do it? Let's do it. And, you know, I struggled in the beginning of the season. But I, you know, just kind of kept grinding. June was a long time. So, you know, from January to February to March, we just kind of kept addressing the issues. And sure enough, I ended up making an NCAA final, which was an awesome experience, which opened the door to, you know, kind of pursue professional running.
That's amazing. So much good stuff in what you said right there. There's some people that are listening that you said sub 4 minute mile, and I think people probably just threw up a little bit on the other side of the screen, because for most people, I mean, and for anyone, that is, it's such an accomplishment. So that's why I want to take a second to pause on that, you know, breaking 4 minutes in the mile. But then even you said something about, you know, Coach Watson being there to say, you're making it to NCAAs, you're making it to NCAAs. You talked about hearing a voice of yourself, but then also a voice of others. And he was there telling you, hey, you're going to make this. And so talk about that piece. I think sometimes it's just important that even when we don't believe that we can accomplish certain things, or when we're in certain valleys, the importance of having someone else there that's speaking that into us starts to take hold in our subconscious as well. Did you find yourself starting to believe that more and more throughout the season, just that would come to fruition?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, back to exactly what you were saying. It's, you know, sometimes the voice in your head doesn't believe, right? And I think, you know, having someone else tell you it's time to believe, and almost seeing like, oh, they believe, why do they believe in me? Oh, okay, maybe I should believe in myself, you know. And they're just kind of like a cycle. And if they believe in you, and you know, Coach Watson was there from the very beginning. And I think he, you know, I remember running 4:16 in the mile at Clemson, and it was the first mile I had back after the brain injury. And I actually got it so caught up in my head, you know, because I'm a little confident. Sometimes I think, you know, I can be a little overconfident, but that sometimes hurts me, honestly. But I ran 4:16 in the mile, and I thought I was gonna, you know, go run 4:03 or something like that, coming off a brain injury. I don't know what I was thinking, but I remember just feeling totally defeated. Like, I believed, but it didn't happen, you know. And I remember it must have just like melted off of me. And he walked over. It was my first race back. I was now into my 2nd year of college, and he stuck his hand out for me. He said, Mike, you're gonna run the mile leg of the DMR. And I was like, Coach, I don't know if I want to blow another race, I'll be honest. You know, like, before I could even say that, he was just like, no questions. You're running the mile leg of the DMR, and like, you better spike up. And I was like, wow, all right, now I'm going to be the anchor leg. Like, there's nothing more. Like, I feel like not only am I going to lose for myself, I'm going to lose for the team. It's just this bad mentality. But it switched in that instant. It was like, no longer, oh, wow, I'm going to lose. It's like, I have an opportunity to redeem myself. I have an opportunity to win for the team now. And like, all the team around the track, and even like, I was walking over to see Henry Wynn, who's in his first year of college, and he was going to be the leadoff leg. And you know, we were training together, and he pumps me up. He passed me on the back. And he goes, "You ready to win this thing?" And it was an incredible experience because I wasn't going to just win it for me. I was winning it for him, and I was winning it for the 400 leg and just the guys around the track and Coach Watson for believing in me. And, you know, it wasn't a great DMR, but I ended up winning. And I think that it's changed the course of how I perceived myself, you know, like I was down in the dumps, but then, you know, Watson, you know, pulled me out and said, like, I believe in you. He believes in you. They all believe in you. So time to get it together. I believe in you too. You know, and I think that it was like, okay, like, thank you, you know, like, thank you. And by the end of that season, I was, you know, I was running fast, and then the next year I broke 4. So it really just how quickly just changing your perception and like changing belief when the pain hits.
Man,
you can do so much.
that's so good. Just your perspective and the belief. Everybody goes through different adversities. You find yourself in these low points where maybe you feel like you underperformed or didn't meet your own expectations, or some would say fail. And I think you start to realize there's 2 choices of response there. There's the response to stay in it and stay in that mental state, or to go back at it and try again, which you did, which sometimes takes a little bit of encouragement. But over the course of time, would you say that now that pattern of thinking has shifted to where maybe you need less of that, hey man, you can get up and try again? Do you feel like because of those experiences that you've had, you've learned that, hey, when I trip up a little bit, I know I can bounce back and take another shot?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But at the same time too, though, like I noticed that you always need that, you know, and I would say yes, I've gotten a lot better at it, at realizing when I hear negative thoughts kind of entering my mind, and I'm a little more cognizant of, more aware, perceptive, I guess you can say it. But at the same time, though, I feel like I do get kind of trapped in it, because you begin, like, your body is so good at kind of manipulating your thoughts in a way that, like, they convince you that, you know, at least that you're wrong, or you're tired, or you can't do it, or you failed, right? And I credit this a lot. I'm actually getting married at the end of August, and my wife, future wife, yeah, she's the rock. She's the one that, you know, I'll always be held to, like, look upon, and, you know, I probably supply the same thing to her as well. And it's just, Mike, it's okay, you know, relax. Because sometimes, you know, I'm only, you know, I always think you got it all figured out, but I'm, you know, still young, 25, and, you know, still going through the valleys of life. There's a lot changing right now. And yeah, I mean, I think always having that voice. We can never be completely beating or completely overcome of doubt. I think always face it, and yeah, we'll be better at overcoming it. But sometimes you still need the voice of someone else to be like, hey, remember, it's okay. Relax. I think the word relax has always been a big word for me. Like, just be in this moment and just be good in this moment, you know, like, it's okay, and relax. And I think, you know, I probably needed that today, honestly. So that's pretty good. So
That's awesome. Great perspective. So coming out of college, I don't think you mentioned this, but 2-time All-American, 5-time ACC champ, won ACC title in the DMR, I believe.
All ACC. I wish I won 5 ACC titles, but yeah.
All ACC, excuse me, all ACC 5 times. But I was giving you the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I would have let you roll with it, but I figured someone would call me out on that.
No, it's good. That's good. Broke 4 minutes in the mile, and then that takes you into a career running professionally. Talk about that stretch for you.
Yeah, that was a fun opportunity. I got to go run out in Europe. I raced out there. I got to stay with my Virginia teammate who is on the team out there, Willem. He's actually going to college out in Leuven, Belgium. So I just stayed in his basically house, and it was an incredible experience. And then I come back and I run with the Boston Athletic Association. And that was just an experience in itself, just getting to, you know, take on the next level. Got to travel, got to go to altitude and train, and I ended up breaking 4 again, which is cool. And then got 5th at the U.S. Championships in the mile, which is pretty awesome. I would say just it's a different experience than running in college, but I think it was cool for that different experience, you know.
That's awesome. So you ran professionally, and then recently hung up the spikes, at least for now. Unless you decide to make a comeback.
Yeah, I'm still running, so it's kind of like a, still running, still training, still doing all that stuff. Everyone's kind of on their own, and I was kind of thinking about moving out of Boston, but yeah.
Okay. So you're coming out of the kind of the track world for now, at least, and then
Yep.
you're currently working on writing a book. Is that right?
Yeah. So I've been working on a book for some time. Honestly, and I always like look at the new paths and stuff, and I think that's where I'm at in my mental state at the moment is, I've always tried to find meaning in everything, and I got paralyzed so I could run, right? I got hit by a car so I could gain perspective, and I think I started writing a book so I could hopefully start the next chapter in my life, and I found a lot of love in writing, honestly. And I found that I actually did poetry writing when I was an undergrad, and when I was going through kind of the more, because I would say I went through a tough point mentally about a year after the accident, especially right when I ran around that 416 mile around there, basically a little bit before that actually, because I was bad at running and I felt like I lost my identity a little bit, because now I was failing. I actually failed out of college, or academic probation, and I didn't think I was a runner anymore. I clearly wasn't running the times necessary to be on the team, and I was at a loss of identity, and I began to write poetry. I took a poetry writing class in college, and just being able to turn the internal thoughts kind of external and write abstract, just kind of put my thoughts on paper and really express myself that way was healing beyond that I could have ever asked, honestly. And I wasn't necessarily any good at it at the time, but it's the ability to put it down. And I think I found that again, because while I was running professionally, I spent a lot of time trying to understand why did I get hit by a car, right? Like, I think that to find meaning in that, like, I overcame it, but what did I gain from overcoming it? I think I gained a perspective, like an ability to understand, hopefully gain empathy, a perspective on humanity, a perspective on adversity. And I wanted to write about it because it helped me heal at one point in my life. And I think that, potentially that could be opening another path for me. I've been writing this book for a while, even speaking on these podcasts with you, I feel like I'm always learning, always kind of, seeing other perspectives, and just, I think we'll see what happens in the next chapter, but I think I'm going to, writing also will allow me to run so I can, keep thinking, because I feel like a lot of times I'll be out on a run and I wish I could write it down while I was running, but a lot of, just the inner thoughts just kind of bouncing around of what you possibly could be going through your mind, like 10, 15 miles into like a dirt road. But I think the next chapter will be a written chapter, quite literally chapter, So, but yeah, I've been working on a book to kind of to share my experiences and share where I'm going, I think, because I think a big thing about the book as well is it's weird to write a memoir at 25. I feel like I've lived 1,000 lives, but I have to remember that it's only been 25 years. So I don't like the idea of an ending. Kind of feels weird still, but I think it's where I'm going, and I think it's where we're all going, just moving forward the only way we know how. So
that's a great perspective. It's really easy sometimes, I think, to get caught up in just looking at the past. And it's not saying that you should neglect the past, but the perspective it sounds like you're taking is you learn from it and then realizing that there's so much more to look forward to in the future that you can use that for.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've been caught up sometimes in a while. Because when you write a book about your life and in the past, you get so consumed by it, and it kind of it takes you back to those mind states that you were in before. And sometimes I think it's good to put the book down and just think about the future. And I think that at least going forward, and maybe the book will come out or maybe it won't. But at the end of the day, I think I want to just kind of keep looking forward. Like, I'm about to get married. I'm about to start the next life. And I think getting hit by a car was an incredible experience from just the perspective and the negatives in that regard, but I think, I would like to allow it to be positive for the rest of my life. So I think we'll see where it goes. But yeah, can't dwell on the
That's
past. Yeah.
awesome perspective. I think as we kind of wind down here, Mike, too, I think there's probably a lot of people that are facing some sort of adversity, especially in a time like now with the COVID-19 pandemic going on. There's probably a lot of people that are also in a transition phase of some sort. So if you were to maybe give one tip for somebody that is, let's say, going through a transition or overcoming some adversity, what would you say to those people?
I'd say I'm right there with you, honestly. And I think that that for me went a long way when people told me that as well. Like, we're all going through different things, right? Like, you may be going through something that I'm not going through, but no matter what, it's adversity that we're facing, and we have the doubt in our mind, but I hear it too, and I think that's what helped me. And I want to tell you, if you're listening to this, that I'm there with you, and I feel doubt even still, and it's always going to be a battle, but we can do it, together. So it's a constant grind, but that's life,
Yeah, that's great perspective. One thing that you're excited about as you move forward here?
I'm honestly, so like I was talking, I'm looking forward. I'm going to try an ultra marathon at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, I may not be the 100 miles yet, but I definitely just want to throw myself out there. I just kind of want to just see what that's like. Just, can I run 100 miles? And obviously it's not going to be anything like running a mile, but I think it will be, in a way. I mean, it'll be a difference. I'm sure mile, who knows, 50, 60, 70, 80. I'm sure I'm going to ask myself, this is a bad decision. But I think I'm going to enjoy that. I don't know when it's going to be. I probably got to, kind of reconfigure some training, but I know
a little different than your mile training.
Exactly. But I think it'd be something to look forward to, at least.
Well, once you do that 100-miler, we'll get you back on for another podcast, because I'm
sure
your perspective will be shifted a little bit.
Never do it again. No.
Oh man, awesome. Hey, well, Mike, thanks so much for joining today. It was a real pleasure. I had a blast chatting with you here, and really appreciate the insights that you shared. I'm excited about when your book gets completed. Can't wait to read that. I know you're online. You've got a YouTube channel, social media. How can people find out more about you?
I've Instagram. I've created a YouTube channel. I've tried to make a video every week or two. Just thoughts. I would love to. I mean, just it'd be a similar thing like this, I'd imagine. Just trying to get through the daily life. You can just follow along the struggle of transition, right? But
nice.
I appreciate you having me on, Dan. It's always a pleasure. Good friends in college, so to the next journey, right?
Absolutely. Awesome, Mike. Well, thanks so much again. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
All right. Take care.
You too.